it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you the October 2018 Tag It Tuesday Altered Shipping Tag Challenge. And this is a Facebook group that is brought to you by Sherry Whitfield, and you can go ask to join. Opportunity to do the challenge every month and to share your artwork, your tag artwork, in a group with other people who are interested in doing altered tags. So this challenge has 4 prompts, and you can use 2 of them or use them all if you want to. And of course, since I'm used to doing challenges with lots of prompts, I use them all usually, unless one of them just doesn't fit, but that didn't happen this month. The first prompt was to use scrapbook paper, so I collaged on some scrapbook paper that has some script writing on it that I had in my stash. I have no idea where it even came from. Don't remember buying it. Maybe it came in Happy Mail. I'm not sure, but it was a piece of 12 by 12 script type background with postage marks on it. Pretty cool. So then the second prompt was to add a map. And this map was a map of Russia, I think, or at least that continent. The piece that I tore off had some yellows in it, so I used that specific piece, and it says Mongolia on it. So it's part of Mongolia that I used on my tag. Then I wanted to add some more colored paper. Very sorry about my throat. I think I'm getting a bit of cold and I'm having a bit of trouble with my throat today. So these are my color boxes, and they have all kinds of painty papers and scraps of stuff, whatever, scraps of packaging, napkins, just whatever that are tiny little bits left over, and I sort them by color and put them in these boxes, put them up on the shelf. It's a colorful little display, but it also is very useful for collage because I have all kinds of colors of paper that I could tear up and collage. So that's what I'm doing. I started out with the orange box, then I switched to the red box. When I think of fall, when I think of, the whole season, the first thing that comes to my mind is colored leaves, because that's the most dramatic thing that happens in the fall is if you are around deciduous trees, which I'm not, but if you were, that the leaves change. So, of course, for the colors that I'm choosing leafy fall colors, oranges and reds and yellows and golds and those type of colors for this tag. So if you're into those type of colors, this is the tag for you. So my next box was the one that had some yellows and golds in it, and a few more pieces just to cover up the remainder of the manila underneath. This is my first layer, of course, and I just want it to all be like uniform in texture. So I'm making sure that there's bits of paper covering everywhere on the whole tag. And then I give that a good dry and make sure that everything is on that layer is real dry. And then I go ahead and trim around the edges and get all the little bits off so that it's back to being tag shaped instead of crazy shaped. So there's my first layer of collage. And that pretty much covers use scrapbook paper and add a map. So then the next thing I'm going to do is add some more color just because it really wasn't quite, I don't know, it was kind of bland. Yuck. So I got out my gelatos, which are a water-soluble tube with some stuff in there, kind of like lipstick or chapstick, but it's for art, not putting on your lips. I don't think you should put it on your lips. And I add some oranges, browns, a little bit of olive green, some peachy colors, and then blend it with my finger. The gelatos are kind of a creamy stuff, and you can just blend it with your finger or with a baby wipe. So then I want to make this background very busy because I'm planning on doing exclusion, which is when you exclude part of the background to make the foreground come forward. Some people call it reverse painting, I think, too, but whichever. I put some copper on there with a tube mark making, the inside of a tube from something, some paper roll or something at some time. It's my favorite mark making tool that I have on my desk. And then I'm using this little 4-inch stencil from the October Stencil Club stencils, from Stencil Girl products. And my little makeup brushes that I bought for doing stenciling, and adding some yellow, some Naples yellow acrylic and some copper through that stencil to make some more marks over my background. You see it's getting very busy, and that's what I want. I want it to be busy, busy. So then I'm taking some dark brown acrylic paint and adding some darker splatters because I thought it needed a little touch of dark, but not black, just dark brown. I don't think it needs black because black is not a fall color in my, in my life. So then I went outside and I grabbed a stick off of one of the bushes outside, and this is my addition with the prompt nature. And then for the prompt fall, I'm adding some fall leaf shapes. This is an old stencil, but I know that there's other stencils out there that are similar. Not really sure where this one even came from. I think it might have been sent to me maybe by Peg in Happy Mail. It's, it's an old stencil, but it's got the perfect leaf shapes. I love it because it's got the maple leaf, it's got the oak leaf, it's got all of the great leaves. It's even got a couple acorns on it. So for the fall time, it is one of my favorites. And I think I've already used it in a couple videos, maybe this month, I'm not sure. It's still sitting on my desk, and I grabbed it because I wanted to make fall leaves. Of course, I could draw the leaf shapes, but if I've got the stencil right there, why bother drawing it? It's already right there. So I drew around some of the leaves onto the tag using a white Stabilo All pencil. It's hard to see on there. It was even hard for me, but I didn't want anything that would show up because I just wanted to be able to see the shapes, but not have it be like a permanent part of the composition. So that's why I used the white pencil that is water soluble so I could get rid of it. A pastel pencil would also be a choice, or maybe even a charcoal. You could rub the charcoal off. So then I picked a couple pieces, colors of acrylic paint, burnt sienna and burnt umber, and I put a dot of each of those on my palette. And then I'm using a water tank brush, which is a brush that has water in the handle so that I can really dilute the paint as I'm painting it on using the water by squeezing that little red section in the middle. These are the Arteza brand ones, and I like that they have a valve control in the middle. That section of red in the middle is a squeezy button. So I can add more water as I'm going because I want to exclude the background, but I don't want to completely cover it up. I want a little bit to show through of all that texture and pattern that I added, and the map and the scrapbook paper and the mark making. I want some of that to show. Excuse my voice this morning, people. I think I'm getting a cold and my throat does not want to cooperate with me. So I'm just going along around the edges of all those leaf shapes and painting out the background. This is a fun technique. I like to do it a lot, and I haven't done it in a while, so it was fun to do a little bit of this technique. And see, as you're looking, you can still see some of the mark making through that acrylic, but it's also making those leaf shapes come forward. I went back around just the edges of the leaf shapes to darken them up a little bit, to make sure that they were defined around the edges. And two colors are better than one. It was a rusty color and a brown color. So then I gave that a good dry. And I decided at this point, really can't go without copper because it's just my favorite. And so I'm using this PBO paint pen. It's an acrylic paint pen. by the PBO or PEBIO, some say, company. It's a very beautiful copper color. I know it doesn't show up very well in the video, but at the end you'll see the pictures and you'll be able to see how shiny and nice it is. Then I got this piece of copper cardstock to make a back for it, to make a, an edge, but I thought it blended in quite a bit, so I went around the edges of the tag using my potting soil brown archival ink, which gives it a border and helps it to stand up to that extra bit of backing paper and border. So then with my little stick, I decided to wrap it in some copper thread, just wrapping around, and just adding some shimmery copper color to that stick. Then I'm gluing down the edge. I started out with the mixed media glue and that doesn't work, so I switched to the tacky glue to glue down that last little piece so that it won't come up. And then I also use the tacky glue to glue the stick to the tag at a diagonal across it. And it doesn't, I needed hot glue, but I still am having hot glue issues. Yeah, we talked about that on the live stream the other day. I broke my little hot glue gun, so I needed a new one. But then I found this old container out in the garage that had 2 glue guns in it, and I was so excited. But then I realized that the glue gun has the wrong shape of glue stick. It has an oval instead of a round glue to put in it, so I still haven't remembered to buy the right glue sticks to put in there. So no hot glue still. This has been going on for weeks. This is how my life is. I forget everything. I can't remember things. I do crazy stuff. So eventually I will have a hot glue gun again. It's taking me some time. So I got out a different manila tag and I again traced that leaf shape on it. And then I put some words in my own handwriting, I know, shocking, inside the leaf, making sure that I didn't go over the edges. And then I'm getting my dip pen and some brown India ink and writing over the words with the brown ink. So I didn't want to use any black, no black today, and I didn't have a brown pen that I could use that had a fine tip. Although now that I think about it, I have some alcohol-based markers which have a fine tip, and I probably could use that. But it's fun to use the dip pen. I don't use it very often. It's a new thing, and so I did that with the India ink and gave it a really, really good dry. And then I cut out the leaf shape with some small sharp scissors, and then I erased the pencil marks around the edges as well as any place where the pencil marks were showing underneath the writing, because I wrote it in pencil first to make sure everything fit, and then over it with the India ink. While I was waiting for, well, I don't know. The next thing I did, that doesn't really make any sense. The next thing I did was to glue my tag onto my backer paper, which is the copper paper, to give it a border. And I needed to clear off a little bit of glue on that edge because it will show on the metallic paper, so I got out a baby wipe to do that. Then I decided this thing was just too white. Oh, here I am erasing. I wanted a lighter color so that it would show up from the background, because the background's pretty busy. I didn't want a dark piece of paper. But then it just wasn't quite right. So I got out my archival ink and another one of those stencil brushes, and I just went around the edges of the tag to give it a little bit of a border with the dark brown. I've never used the stencil brushes. These are makeup brushes, but I bought them for stenciling, and I haven't ever tried using them for that type of a thing before. It was kind of interesting. And then I went around the edge with the copper pin and wanted to bring in some of those copper metallic-y accents, shiny, shiny. And yeah, I love copper. That's all there is to it. So that took a minute, but I got copper around the edges. Still wasn't quite right. So I got some glimmer mist from Tattered Angels. This is Dijon color, and it's a shimmery mist. And put that on my leaf. Meh, could have been a little bit lighter, but I don't have an endless supply of colors in glimmer mist. I have a lot, but not an endless supply. So then I decided to wrap some of that same copper cord around the the stem of the leaf to make it kind of coordinate with the the copper wrapped around my stick. And then I attached, I'm saying and then a lot, and then next I got some dimensional dots. They're like foam dots so that I could have the leaf stand out from the background dimensionally, because that stick is quite thick and standing out from the background, and the leaf needed to be able to stand up to it. I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question below, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on your notification bells, and you can always share this on Pinterest or Facebook if you enjoyed it and you want to share it with others. I felt like the leaf wasn't standing out enough, and so I took some of that leftover, I think this is the burnt umber, yeah, and just like tucked it underneath a little bit to give some darkness underneath. Then I added a sari ribbon in a gold color. I added some grosgrain ribbon in a brown color, and then I wrapped it around with some copper thread. And that was pretty much the end of my Tag It Tuesday tag for the month of October. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be close-ups coming up so you can see, what it looks like close-up, as well as pictures at the end. I fussed with this thread quite a bit. Getting it's so tiny. My big fat fingers have a hard time tying it. It's very, very thin thread. I used to have a different copper thread that I really liked, but I haven't been able to find it. It's like a 1 millimeter metallic copper cord or thread, and I can't find it anymore. It was from Stampin' Up! A long, long, long time ago, and it's not on Amazon, I'll tell you that. It's not there. They have gold and silver, but not copper. What do people have against copper? Anyway, the last thing I did was to trim down these the copper paper underneath with some deckle edge shears just for fun. I just thought it looked kind of cool. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.